My name is Reverend Uche Ekpa. My topic today is Western nations should adopt Franklin Roosevelt's 4 freedoms towards the developing nations. Western nations should adopt Franklin Roosevelt's 4 freedoms towards the developing nations. President Roosevelt was a great man of vision who presided in the times of great upheaval and national challenges in the history of American politics. He was ranked as one of 3 American best presidents. He was a man characterized of lifting himself up from the wheelchair to lead the nation on his knees during the Depression and Second World War. He was the man who enacted the Social Security, one of America's greatest achievements, under attack now, envied by the world. He was the man who proposed the 4 freedoms. Freedom from want all over the world. President Roosevelt was a man who loved peace and hated war. He did everything in his presidential powers to stop the World War, the Second World War, that destroyed so many people, thousands of people all over the world. In 1937, in his quarantine speech, he tried to contain aggressive states to be dubbed as public health menace to be quarantined. In 1941, President Roosevelt proposed the 4 freedoms towards the developing nations. He elaborated on the need for American presidents to help other nations raise their productivity, raise their living standard, and purchasing power. That will mean safety from attack and war, and will create and will help the development of democracy. I think it is time for Western nations to adopt, America and Western nations to adopt President Roosevelt's 4 freedom before they will lead us into 3rd world nuclear war. What was he trying to say? What was President Roosevelt trying to say? He was trying to say that in these nations lavished with great natural resources, they should be helped to develop their natural resources. Human need is crushing and demanding. If they are not met, they can enlist bitterness, anger. When human beings are deprived of their basic needs or their need for freedom, they will do everything to get that freedom, because God did not create the human mind to be chained or to be oppressed. He did not, or to be imprisoned, no, at all. Saw it during the Jewish oppression in Second World War by Hitler. Zionism was created to crush Hitler's oppressive regime on the Jewish people. Even though Zionism was classified as terrorist group, we saw it in Mandela's apartheid. ANC was classified as terrorist group. We saw it with American slaves fighting for freedom. You cannot chain the human mind. When chained, it will do everything to what? Oppressive regime on it. We saw it in Arab Spring. We are still seeing it, and we will continue to see it until the end of the world. Because you cannot chain human mind under slavery or anything. President Roosevelt, who understood the human mind, warned American presidents. He told them, democracy can only strive, not wait where there is so much dire need. But terrorism will strive where, people are desperately in need. And they will do everything to crush their deplorable situation. That's where the terrorism will strive. He warned the American president, help other nations to raise their purchasing power, to raise their living standard, to increase their productivity. These nations with great natural resources like Africa, Central America, Middle East, many of them are into deplorable situations. They have no basic needs, not even drinking water. President Roosevelt warned, help them to rise. When you help them, then they will have their own basic needs, the needs like drinking water. They will raise their purchasing power. They will increase in their productivity if you help them. He warned American presidents so that they will become the kind of people God had ordained them to be. But what do we see American presidents do? They have not followed what President Roosevelt warned them to do. They have become what President Roosevelt warned in his 1937 quarantine speech. They have become warmongers. They have joined Western nations to deny these third world rich nations even basic needs like drinking water. They have completely not followed what President Roosevelt admonished them to do. What do we see them do? Under the pretext of military intervention, humanitarian services, democracy, they have exploited these rich nations with natural resources. They've exploited them, put up puppet leaders who do whatever they want them to do. And when these third world unwise leaders will no longer carry out what they want them to do, they destroy them, they swoop in, destroy these leaders. In that way, and then they flood the whole place with guns, and these leaders will use this gun to hold their people in subjection. And when they will no longer carry out what they want them to do, they will destroy those nations and then create Al-Qaeda's terrorists, militants. And these people, when they become homeless, they begin to terrorize the whole world. These are the militants, these are the terrorists, these are those people. They have been denied their homes, their natural resources taken away from them under the guise of military intervention, democracy, and humanitarian services. Look at, just imagine Mali. Can you imagine if Mali could have produced all her natural resources? What a powerful nation it will be, and to the world. Yet, Western nations have exploited these nations. There are many like Mali, in Africa, in Central America, in Middle East. Many of them like that. We cannot continue on this regressive and hopeless path. We cannot. President Roosevelt, who knew what he was saying about human need, warned the American president, help these nations. When you help them, they will not come to America to attack you. The one you have will never attack you. And that will have the development of democracy. That's what President Roosevelt warned. But American presidents have not followed that. Just look at Iraq. Iraq had no Al-Qaeda before. Under the guise of military, under the guise of chemical weapon, America destroyed Iraq. They have dealt with Saddam Hussein for years, given him everything, biological weapon, everything. When he could no longer do what they wanted him to do, they swooped in, destroyed him and his family. And what did they do? Created Al-Qaeda, they created militants, created terrorists in Iraq. There was never one before there. Look at Mubarak. They knew he was a dictator. Did they talk about democracy with him? No, they did not. What did they do? They poured in billions of dollars on him, and he terrorized his own people. Roosevelt could never have done that. He hated war, and he sought with all his presidential powers to bring down Second World War and stop it. Look at Syria. Nobody, no Western nation has been able to intervene. The rebels are backed by America, France, and Britain, and Russia is backing Bashar's regime. Nobody. Nobody. If Prime Minister Netanyahu goes back into office, we are definitely going to war with Iran, backed by America and Western nations. Look at Mali under the pretext of militants. They have destroyed northern Mali. France has displaced thousands of people only because of natural resources of Mali, not because she loves Mali. We cannot continue on this path. This is whatever a man sows, they will reap. And we will have to stop the world second nuclear war if we do not stop all these wars, pretext of wars. President Roosevelt was saying, when you deny these nations their natural resources, when you deny them even basic needs, when you cannot have them create and develop their natural resources, then they will become Al-Qaedas, they will become militants, they will become terrorists. I think it is time for Western nations and America to study Franklin Roosevelt's life and all that he did. He was a great man with a great vision. I think it's time for them to look at his life. Look at the militants, look at the people who fought the war in Libya, who have become militants, they've become Al-Qaedas, and the ones who fought in Iraq, they've become Al-Qaeda, they've become militant, they've become terrorists. They are the same ones fighting the rebels. They are the same ones fighting in Syria as the rebels. And that means that Western nations will use anybody to achieve their aim, or America. America has spent billions of dollars to stop terrorists all over the world, and they are using the same terrorists to fight as rebels in Syria. We cannot continue that way. President Roosevelt knew the desperate human need, and he warned American presidents, help these developing nations so that they will rise and not be in need and in want. He did not only love America, he loved other nations. He wanted them to rise. He wanted freedom from want all over the world, especially in these developing rich nations. Where you have the greatest war are these developing nations of the world. Africa, Middle East, and Central America. That's where you have the war. President Roosevelt said, help them develop these things. He was the only president who embodied what the scripture said, do unto others as you would like them to do unto you. As you would like them to treat you, as you would like others to treat you, treat other people, treat other nations. Don't destroy them by taking away their natural resources and impoverishing them under the guise of military intervention, democracy, and humanitarian ventures. Those are lies, those are pretexts. President Roosevelt said, no, don't do that. Help them rise, help them raise their productivity, their purchasing power, and their living standard. Help them. How I pray and wish that God will raise leaders who fear God, who are wise like President Roosevelt, who loved other nations, not only America. How I pray God will raise people like that, people like him, so they do not, these leaders, Western and American leaders, will not lead us into another third world nuclear war. This will be a terrible war if it ever happens. I pray the Lord will give us wise leaders who will deliver us from these uncertain and unturbulent times in world history. Thank you. Thank you very much.